What is the largest organism in the world? I'm sure a lot of people would answer with singular animals. The blue whale, for example, has been recorded at a maximum weight of more than 200 tons, more than twice the size of the space shuttle. Some other nerds out there might point out Pando, a large collection of quaking aspen trees out in the wilderness of Utah in Fish Lake National Forest. The system itself stems from one singular tree, whose roots grow shoots in order to spread across the nearly 130 acres it covers, and it's estimated to be around 13 million pounds. But not even Pando is the largest organism in the world. No, that record belongs to something some people may not expect. Just watching how to pronounce this. Armillaria ostoyae.
There's a humongous fungus among us.
Also known as the dark honey fungus. What looks like a tiny fungus in the eastern part of Oregon in the Malheur National Forest is actually a nearly 9,000-year-old fungal system that spans almost 2,000 acres. A tiny little mushroom, or fungus, doesn't seem like much on the surface, but below the ground, every single fungus is linked to each other. It's not just millions upon millions of individual spores. They're all linked together in a beautiful, yet kind of horrifying way. After all, it is a fungus, so it doesn't eat the same way we do. It's at the same time a parasite that kills thousands of furs across the US and Canada through Armillaria root disease. But there's a certain beauty to it, still, I think. It's a parasite, but it's a connected network of thousands of seemingly individual parts. It speaks a lot to me, philosophically, because isn't that what humans should be? A connection of thousands of seemingly individual parts, but all one species? Maybe I'm making this too deep, but I think that desirable connection is important to the reason why the found family trope is so big. Found families, or as they're known on TV tropes, family of choice, are a very popular trope in modern day storytelling. Instead of a focus being on a nuclear blood family, the trope is about a patchworked together family. They're not related, though maybe one or two are like siblings or parent-child, but their bonds are usually seen as just as strong, or maybe even stronger than that of a family related by blood. The trope itself is incredibly popular with both creators and fans. It's fun to put a bunch of people together to be a family and explore how their differences in cultures and experiences interact, especially when they're not related. And fans who might not have had a good birth family might feel a little more at home and accepted when reading a story about a found family. I'm one of those aforementioned fans. Well, I do love my family dearly. I also love my friends a lot, and exploring the dynamics between characters who might have traumas that prevent them from building proper relationships, or maybe have some relatable mommy and/or daddy issues. It's really fun to write and see in different stories across mediums. It's comforting for people who might be estranged from their blood family. The idea that they can still have meaningful connections with people that they're not related to. It's the saying, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, essentially. But I've been noticing something a lot lately, especially with Disney films. Among their many issues, they will have a bunch of characters come together to make a nice found family built off broken people, but they will kill it in the sequel. They'll tear the family apart because, well, separation is better for growth, maybe, or whatever, but it doesn't feel like they give them ways to stay connected in a way that makes sense. Elsa gets to go live in the woods as a bisexual ice elemental, while Anna takes the throne in Arendelle. Sure, they have game nights and they can connect with the wind, but they're still separated. Ralph and Vanellope separate at the end of Wreck-It Ralph 2 as Vanellope sets her respawn up in an online game far away from the home she fought for in Sugar Rush. And then, of course, the live-action Lilo and Stitch movie happened. I think this is a bad thing. Not to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it feels very conservative to be separating these found families. Of course, most of them have some kind of familial bond to it already, but it feels like a message is being sent to us subconsciously about found families. And I want to look at a few movies as examples to find the subtle message studios, specifically Disney, are trying to send to the audience and figure out why it hurts so much. So, let's get started. This video is sponsored by me, as they usually are. I started this as a joke few videos ago, and I just keep it because it's actually worked to get me a few subscribers. So if you enjoy content like this, weird media deep dives, please be sure to like and subscribe. More videos will be on the way, of course. And yeah, let's just get right on with the video.
And now, our feature presentation.
We're going to talk about Frozen and Frozen 2 first, as they're kind of the films that popped into my head first. Here's a hot take. Frozen is actually not too bad of a movie. You all just got sick of it after it exploded and became the only thing Disney would sell for what felt like 3 million years. Or maybe I should call that an ice cold take? I'll see myself out. One of the largest draws of Frozen, at least for the original 2013 film, was the way that the film was more of a deconstruction of the typical Disney princess narrative. It had all the plot beats there. A princess going on an adventure with a wacky sidekick, finding true love along the way, but the little details and meta jokes made it a pretty enjoyable film for both adults.
You mean to tell me you got engaged to someone you just met that day?
Yes, pay attention.
To try to avoid over-summarizing the plot so much for Frozen, the story centers around the relationship between the sisters Anna and Elsa, our protagonist and antagonist. Yeah, I'll call Elsa the antagonist. She is technically the opposing force to Anna through most of the film. Elsa was born with ice powers. One night while playing with her sister, she accidentally hurt Anna. Their parents, the king and queen, take Anna to be healed by rock trolls, who give the royal family a great warning about Elsa's powers. If she does not get them under control, she may hurt and scare more people. The king and queen take this literally. After the head troll, Grandpappy, replaces Anna's memories of Elsa's magic powers with just regular fun memories, the king and queen start to separate the sisters until Elsa's powers are under control, and they lock the castle down. This leads to both sisters developing crippling social issues, and Elsa specifically developing anxiety and fear over hurting someone with her powers. Her father, the king, gives her gloves to conceal her powers, and they create the mantra, "Conceal, don't feel," to try to help her get control over her ice. This, unfortunately, does not work very well, because, encouraging someone to suppress their emotions never goes horribly. Their parents die in a shipwreck when they're both young adults, but their relationship is incredibly strained at this point. While Anna has been trying to reach out and connect for years, Elsa has always remained cold and distant, pushing her younger sister away out of that fear. They're almost like fire and ice, warm and cold, kind of cool. But with their parents gone, Elsa now assumes the throne as queen. During her coronation, her powers are revealed, and she runs away, causing an eternal winter. Anna goes after her, befriending Kristoff, Sven, and a living snowman named Olaf along the way, not just to bring her sister home, but to end this wintry apocalypse. I think that's something that gets missed in larger analysis, at least the way I read the film. Anna didn't want to bring her home. At least in the way I read the film, Anna didn't want to bring Elsa home specifically. I'm sure she would have liked to, but when she sees how Elsa is more open and comfortable in the ice castle that was built in the mountains, and she sees how happy she is, she kind of just wants Elsa to stop the eternal winter, one that Elsa is not aware of. In a panic attack, essentially, Elsa hits Anna with her magic accidentally right in the heart. This isn't like the time she was hurt as a child. Ice magic to the heart can kill. Kristoff takes her to the trolls who raised him. Yeah, the same rock trolls. And after a cute little song I wrote an article about on my Substack, it's revealed that Anna will freeze to death. The only thing that can thaw her frozen heart is an act of true love. The race to prevent Anna from freezing starts. Kristoff returns Anna to Arendelle, while at the same time Hans, a prince Anna had fallen in love with and gotten engaged to on her first day out of the castle and left in charge while she was gone, takes Elsa in as a prisoner. When Anna gets to Hans, she expects true love's kiss to save her and thaw her frozen heart. Plot twist, Hans is evil, and wants her to die. This twist feels a little out of left field, I'll be honest, but Hans is a topic for a different video. The climax shortly after finds all of her characters out on the frozen fjord in the middle of a blizzard. Elsa escaped from her bonds by freezing and shattering her iron shackles, and Hans is going after her. Anna managed to get out of the castle with assistance from Olaf, but she's starting to frost over. Kristoff and Sven turn around after dropping Anna off, with Kristoff realizing he is actually the one in love with Anna, and Anna is looking desperately for Kristoff, realizing she's actually fallen in love with him. Hans catches up to Elsa first and tells her that Anna died. Anna froze, and it was all Elsa's fault. The grief consumes her so much that the world freezes around them. The blizzard stops, snowflakes in midair, as she falls to the frozen ground, broken. Anna can see Kristoff from across the fjord running to her, but to the side she sees Elsa and Hans is lifting a sword to her sister. She doesn't even think, she just moves. With the last of her energy as the ice consumes her, Anna stops Hans's sword, her body freezing so suddenly and so cold that the iron shatters and Hans gets knocked back. Though she doesn't stay frozen for long, it turns out true love's kiss doesn't need to be the act that thaws her heart. Giving it all for her sister because she loves Elsa is the act that Anna needed to do all on her own. That's the act of true love. She thaws, Elsa learns to use her powers with love, Hans gets sucker punched, and they all live happily ever after. Yay! And then 2019 comes around and Frozen 2 is released. Frozen 2 is an interesting film. Not just because of its rushed, bugged production, surprisingly well documented through the behind-the-scenes documentary Disney released on their own streaming service, but the themes that it tries to tackle are interesting. There's obviously a theme of change, but also colonialism, historical revision, trying to better the past? The indigenous tribe featured in the sequel, the North Aldrin, are based heavily on the Sami people. It was even dubbed in the Sami language upon its release in the Nordic countries, which is kind of cool. I wish they had a better film story-wise, but the fact that Disney tried to do something good, we should at least mention it. It's also surprisingly mature for the sequel of Frozen, of all things, and I wish the writers had more of a chance to develop the story further. It could have been a lot better than it is. Frozen 2 takes place a few years after the first film. By this time, relationships have been growing stronger and improving. Elsa and Anna are close again. Kristoff is getting ready to pop the big question to Anna. And Olaf is, well, he's doing something a snowman never could do, grow older. The characters are all comfortable in their world. But Elsa's been hearing a strange voice calling out to her. One night, she finally responds, and it awakens the ancient elemental spirits that threaten Arendelle. This starts them on a journey northward to the Enchanted Forest, following the same steps the king and queen did many years ago. There they discover a lot. The tribe of the North Aldrin people are trapped in the Enchanted Forest with a group of aging Arendellian guards. Elsa and Anna's mother, Iduna, was actually North Aldrin herself, and their father fell in love with her after she saved him from danger, and the forces threatening Arendelle and the voice Elsa is following lie deep with Atahalin, a mythical reverie full of memories. But by the time they get to the forest is where the movie nosedives completely on character arcs for everyone. Like I mentioned before, other than the attempt at exploring colonialism and historical revisionism, another thing Frozen 2 attempts to explore is change. All of the characters are aspects of change in a way, and it makes sense. The little kids who fell in love with the first Frozen were growing older and more mature by that point. They were going to middle school, maybe in high school, maybe even going off to college. An animated film exploring themes of coming of age is good. And this sort of thing happens all the time. Families will change. Older siblings will leave to go off to college. Younger siblings will be stuck behind. Even friends will move and lose contact with each other. Giving children, both young and old, a story that lets them explore these themes is good. But the movie just falls flat in exploring the theme of change because of the quality of the writing and the way the characters are ultimately treated. Kristoff is sidelined for most of the film. He's reduced to the comedic character whose attempts at proposing to Anna keep blowing up in his face. Olaf, who's supposed to be the comedic sidekick, gets quite a bit of existential development, which is a bit shocking given he's grown almost the most mature out of the cast. And then there's Elsa and Anna. Elsa and Anna have, again, been rebuilding their relationship mostly off-screen. Their little found family is weird, but good. But their characters in this film seem to fail at exploring their own ideas of change. Anna is very resistant to change, which is kind of a funny turn from her in her first film, where she just wanted things to change so she could go outside again. She's stuck in the present, where it's safe and comfortable. She's uncomfortable with the voice Elsa is following and doesn't want things to change. At the same time, she refuses to leave Elsa's side, finally happy their relationship is strong again. Her character arc is at least the more convincing of the two during the film, but she's almost changed into an incredibly clingy character who refuses to trust Elsa's own decisions, too. Not like in the first film, who trusts her sister, even when she's hurt by her sister's magic. At the climax, Elsa drowns in Atahalin, and Anna has to destroy the dam separating the Enchanted Forest from the rest of their land, and she has to pick herself up, dust herself off, and keep moving, despite the fact Elsa and Olaf have both essentially died right in front of her eyes.
That's a pretty strong moment, but that's like the only thing I can think of. Elsa is where it really falls flat to me. She's always been a bit more distant and hesitant with her sister, especially, and her striking out on her own maybe isn't too surprising. She recognizes the danger and is trying to protect her sister, but she becomes almost possessed by this voice she's following in a way that only Anna really comments on briefly through the film. It feels like a few steps are missing in her character development that led from the first film to the second. She's embraced her powers a bit more, she isn't letting fear rule her, but it's changed her into being someone who is almost headstrong and obsessive. Her arc of learning to accept herself is cute and all, but it isn't given the room or time to develop effectively. It feels clunky. She ignores the voice, then gives into it. She goes to the enchanted forest to learn the truth about the kingdom's past with her sister, but then sends Anna away. I don't feel like either of these characters are the same from the first movie to the sequel, Elsa especially. But this isn't even the tip of the iceberg, the final nail in the coffin. The final nail in the coffin of this found family's funeral is the ending. After Arendelle is saved last minute by Elsa reviving herself and riding on Nox the water horse to freeze the flood, everything gets wrapped up too quickly. Kristoff can finally propose, and Anna says yes, and then Elsa decides she's going to leave the throne to Anna and live as a bisexual ice goddess in the woods. What? This entire franchise was built on these two sisters. All the branding, the entire story, it was built off Elsa and Anna. The whole first movie was about how strong their love as sisters was, even after a lifetime of distance. And then it's just, here's the keys to the kingdom, have fun, we're gonna live separate lives now. It's odd, it feels a little out of nowhere. Of course, they still stay connected. The wind elemental spirit they befriend in the film acts as a messenger between the sisters, and it seems like Elsa visits for game nights every few weeks, but it's not the same. Now, normally, this instance of a found family breaking up would be a small detail, just an ending I don't like. But this isn't the only time Disney has done this. It's not even the first time that Disney has broken up this sort of found family. Wreck-It Ralph is a fun movie. It's definitely not one of Disney's more popular animated films, but there's something great about the film. You've got niche arcade game references, awesome world designs, an interesting story centering around our hero, Ralph, being the bad guy of his game. It explores the way we see people based on their occupation or appearance. Ralph is a bad guy because that's how the video game gods decided he would be. But he isn't a bad, evil person, it's just the role he has to play. Because of that visual identifier, he's ostracized by not just the other NPCs in his game, Fix-It Felix, but by many other characters from other arcade games when they connect through the electrical system of the arcade they call home. They just recognize him as a large destructive force, not the guy he really is deep down, who is more thoughtful and caring than people would expect. He gets frustrated though after getting snubbed at the 30th anniversary party of his game. He decides he'll find a way to earn a medal to try to be accepted as a good guy, so he travels to another game, Hero's Duty, to retrieve a medal. After he does, he ends up crash landing in Sugar Rush, where he ends up running into the racer Vanellope von Schweetz. Vanellope is also an outcast in her own game. Unlike other characters, she's known as a glitch. Her code is unstable and it causes her to glitch around. Her glitch diagnosis prevents her from leaving the game, and the ruler of Sugar Rush, King Candy, has explicitly forbidden her to race. After stealing his medal to try and buy her way into the race, Vanellope and Ralph start to work together. Ralph builds Vanellope a new cart for her to race in and helps her train within the Diet Cola Mountain, as Vanellope intends to enter the race to win Ralph's medal back. King Candy hears about this and convinces Ralph to sabotage Vanellope's attempt with the return of the medal because Vanellope is a glitch. As he explains, if she races, their game will be deemed unstable and it'll get unplugged, which will not just render a bunch of kids effectively homeless, but since Vanellope can't leave her game, she'll die a horrible, painful death. And because he cares, Ralph destroys Vanellope's cart, but since he's been away from his game for so long, it's been evacuated under the threat of it getting unplugged too. As he's sulking in the emptiness of his own game, Ralph notices something. character art of Vanellope appears on the side of her physical game, which doesn't make sense because she's supposed to be a glitch. She's not supposed to exist according to the code of Sugar Rush. Ralph returns to Sugar Rush to confront King Candy, who turns out to be Turbo. It's probably one of the few times Disney ever managed to get their twist villain done well, honestly. I mean, I didn't see it coming. But then again, this movie came out when I was a kid. Turbo is a character from the now unplugged game Turbo Time, which was an 8-bit racing game. As he was the best racer, he became obsessed with the attention, but the arcade got other racing games and he was left forgotten and abandoned. He switched games, taking control of Sugar Rush's code to make the NPCs forget Vanellope was a racer and cemented himself in power as King Candy. Vanellope is being kept from racing not because she's a glitch, but because if she wins, the code will be reset and everyone will remember who King Candy really is, an interloper. After breaking Fix-It Felix out of prison, yeah, Felix got stuck in prison in Sugar Rush after following Ralph into the game to return Ralph to their game. They fix Vanellope's cart to get her back into the race. But oh no, Turbo has taken over the game with the help of Cybugs from Heroes Duty. Ralph, remembering how he won his first medal, leads the creepy bug Turbo to Diet Cola Mountain, where he knocks down the Mentos on top to create an epic explosion. Vanellope wins the race, the game resets, and she's revealed to be the real ruler of Sugar Rush.
Hereby decree that everyone who was ever mean to me shall be executed. What?
Vanellope still keeps her glitching ability, and Ralph and Felix return to their games now, respecting each other more. It's a really great exploration of character, all the action aside. The relationship that Vanellope and Ralph develop has always read as somewhat familial to me, not in a father-daughter or brother-sister sort of way, but it's familial. They've become a found family of two outcasts, Ralph the bad guy and Vanellope the glitch. It's not the typical family, but they're family. They don't need the labels. And then the sequel, Ralph Breaks the Internet, came out and ruined everything the first movie made. So there's a lot of problems with Ralph Breaks the Internet, horrible title aside. It's another attempt at exploring a theme of growing older and changing that Frozen 2 attempts to, well, attempt, but I feel like this movie somehow falls even further on its face rather than the latter. I think the biggest problem is the Flanderization of both Vanellope and Ralph, but let me try to quickly summarize the plot. 6 years after the first movie, Vanellope is growing bored with her game. Trying to help his friend out, Ralph breaks a new path for the racers to take, but it ends up breaking the controller off the arcade game. But because the game is old and replacement parts are too expensive to order, the arcade owner unplugs Sugar Rush, which leaves all of the NPCs homeless as a result. Felix and Calhoun, who I'm now realizing I didn't mention before, adopt the racers while Ralph and Vanellope decide to venture on this new thing called the internet to find a way to get that replacement part for Vanellope's game. While they're on the internet, they go through various misadventures to trying to raise money for the replacement part, from stealing a car from an online game slaughter race to trying to make viral videos on BuzzTube. Yeah, this movie hasn't aged very well at all. After their various misadventures, Vanellope begins to realize the internet is a real place to be, a real fun place. It's always new and fresh, and she wants something more out of her boring life as a racer in Sugar Rush. Ralph overhears Vanellope wanting to stay in Slaughter Race with the character Shank, and heard that his friend wants to leave. Ralph goes to the dark web to buy a computer virus that would scare Vanellope out of Slaughter Race. Unexpectedly, this computer virus causes a server reset and feeds off of Ralph's insecurities about his friendship with Vanellope, and ends up duplicating itself into Ralph clones that threaten a DDoS attack on the entirety of the internet? I don't know how the internet works, but is that possible? Anyway, Ralph attempts to lure the Ralph virus into a firewall to destroy it, but it merges into a giant Ralph that grabs both Vanellope and Ralph. After a heartfelt talk, he accepts that Vanellope wants to move on and that he can't control her. The virus fades and Vanellope leaves to reset her spawn in Slaughter Race, and they live happily ever after as the Sugar Rush replacement piece is mysteriously shipped to the arcade and the game is plugged back in. Flanderization is named after the Simpsons character Ned Flanders, and it describes a process in which an interesting character is dulled down to their individual personality traits and exaggerated. It's making the characters a caricature of their former self. It usually is a sign of a decline in quality of the work, as the writers and creators stand off the interesting edges of their characters to try to make the story they want to tell work with as little effort as possible. and that is the biggest case for both Ralph and Vanellope. In the original film, Ralph is a lonely guy, and a little insecure from the entirety of his life being seen as a bad guy. It's through helping and saving Vanellope in Sugar Rush that he realizes that just because he's a bad guy doesn't mean he's a bad guy. Just because he has a certain role or occupation, it doesn't mean it has to define him. He can decide who he really is. It's a great reflection of how destiny or programming might determine what we look like, maybe sometimes how we act or the things we do, but we decide what we want to do with our lives. Vanellope, conversely, is also an outcast, though for a different reason, as she believes she's a glitch. Most of the characters in her world see her as sickly or dangerous as she teleports around through her erratic glitches. It's a great allegory for our disability or neurodivergence. The other characters around her isolate her not because she's a bad guy, but because she doesn't fit in. She's a little loud, a little messy, and unapologetic, even if she glitches around a bit. Honestly, she's great in the first film. Of course, it turns out Vanellope's situation is not because of her. She's not an outcast because of who she is, but who she used to be, as Turbo took over her game's code and rewrote it to put himself in power, and put her, the real ruler, at the bottom of their caste system. The two of them find each other at their lowest points. Vanellope is trying to get enough money to buy her way into a race, and Ralph just got a medal after being forgotten at his game's 30th anniversary party to try and prove himself to Felix and the Nicelanders in his game. The bond they make is one made by two outcasts who have nobody else to turn to. But when they find each other, they finally find something worthwhile, someone who understands what they go through. Despite being from two wildly different games, they've got similar experiences and similar souls. It has amazing foundations for a great friendship already, and the idea of outcasts finding each other is what the found family trope is all about. And then the sequel takes these two characters, makes them facsimiles of who they were in the first one. Ralph is being defined by his insecurity, so much so that the entire climax is based on him being insecure about Vanellope leaving. They dumb him down to an almost hysterical level to make sure he still fits within their plot. And he gets uncharacteristically jealous and possessive of Vanellope, which is, I'm gonna be honest, really, really weird when he looks like an adult and she looks like a child. Especially as they read more familial to me in the first movie. Kind of like a jealous ex, almost. Vanellope, on the other hand, is more impulsive and out of control, like a sugar-filled kid. She needs something new, she's getting bored, and she accidentally breaks her pursuit of something new. And at the end of the day, she breaks off from Ralph to stay on the internet, where everything is new and exciting and different. She's not as flanderized as Ralph is, but that's mostly because she's not the main character. Ralph is, of course. Honestly, I feel like if their first movie selves met their sequel movie selves, they wouldn't recognize each other at all. The grounded edges of Vanellope and Ralph are chipped off so they fit into the story the creators wanted to explore. It's just like Frozen 2. Disney wanted their characters to explore a change that sets them apart, which is something that happens to a lot of people, especially kids. Sometimes even then, there's still so many bad implications for this. Vanellope is the leader of Sugar Rush. She's their princess/mayor. She's one of the favorite characters, and she just up and leaves to a different game, leaving her responsibilities behind. What kind of message is that supposed to be on top of everything else? Not to mention how hard she fought to be taken seriously by all the other racers in the first movie. Ralph Breaks the Internet is less a sequel and more like releasing Ralph on the good memories of the previous movie. It wrecks the relationship between Ralph and Vanellope that's beautifully established in the first movie, wrecks the message of growing up and changing they were trying to do, and wrecks the hope Disney probably had for a franchise based off these characters. It is where the trend of Disney breaking apart their found families started, but this isn't the worst example.
Alright, here we go again.
I'm back in the fucking building again!
There's a lot of video essays out there on the travesty of the live-action Lilo and Stitch remake. Remake, notably in heavy quotation marks. I've made my own commentary on this movie before, and normally I wouldn't want to repeat points again, but I think the remake is the most egregious example of Disney's odd fascination with destroying found families in their movies. Let's look at the original. In the original animated version, the movie is very specific to note how most of the characters are complex, more than just good guys versus the bad guys. I mean, we have Stitch, an alien who was created to destroy planets. He was made to be destructive by an alien scientist, Dr. Jumba Jakiba, who wanted to create a weapon. The United Galactic Federation is right in holding Jumba and Stitch in prison for the damage Stitch especially could do, but he still escapes and ends up crash landing in Hawaii. The UGF sends Jumba to Earth to recapture his experiment for an earlier release with one of their officers, an expert in Earth culture named Pleakley. Jumba and Pleakley turn into the antagonists, but they're not the bad guys. Yeah, Jemba is doing it to get out of prison earlier and probably to create more genetic experiments in the future, but Plickly isn't bad, he's just doing his job. And of course we have Captain Cantu, another UGF agent who ends up following Stitch to Earth to recapture him after Stitch escapes under his watch. He's maybe more antagonistic and aggressive than Jemba, going as far as kidnapping Lilo, but at the start at least, his motivation is just his job. And to mirror it, we also have the social worker Cobra Bubbles, whose presence threatens to tear Lilo apart from her older sister Nani. While he's stoic and seems removed from the case, it's made clear that Bubbles does care for Lilo and doesn't want to have to do his job, but he will have to if Nani can't get her life together for Lilo's sake. They've got a bit of a smorgasbord of antagonists here, but nobody is truly evil in the way other Disney villains like Frollo, the Evil Queen, or Mother Gothel are. They're all just people. Mostly aliens, but people doing what they have to in order to survive. Their own journeys converge with the journey that Lilo and Stitch go on together, as Lilo ends up being a catalyst in transforming Stitch into a force for good and not evil. Eventually, Jumba and Plickly settle down on Earth and become a new family to Nani and Lilo. It's such a sweet story about strangers coming together, and it makes sense that it's one of Disney's more beloved properties. That's what the film is about. It's about how complex people can come together to build a new family after a tragedy. It's about Ohana. The idea that family means nobody gets left behind or forgotten. Even if they're not blood related, Lilo and Stitch represents the peak perfection of the found family trope. Just a girl, her older sister, her alien dog, and her 2 gay alien uncles. And then we have the live action remake that manages to curb stomp, spit at, and abandon the ideas that the original one presented. So first off, we remove the character of Gantu, who is the character that brings Jumba and Plickly closer to Nani after Lilo is kidnapped in the original. We also almost removed Cobra Bubbles, and it was only after fan outcry that Mr. Bubbles was hastily patchworked in, not as a social worker, but as a CIA agent posing as a social worker who's actually hunting down the alien activity on Hawaii. And worst of all, Nani relinquishes her guardianship of Lilo at the end of the film to go to college. I have talked about how horrible and against the idea of Ohana this is. The movie tries to cover its tracks. Lilo's guardianship is transferred to David and a new character, Tutu, David's grandmother. The community is great, of course, but it's not the same. And then Nani goes off Hawaii to study marine biology in California, but uses a portal gun invented by Jumba essentially to transport back and forth. So technically, the family is still together, but the method of which it's stitched up isn't even a proper stitch. It's like using a glue gun to sew a quilt together. Nani can have the convenience of visiting her sister without the responsibility of family, which is what the first film wanted to explore. The tragedy of their parents' death feels muted when Nani has more people to rely on. And as I mentioned in my other video, could Nani not just have studied marine biology on Hawaii? And what would happen if the portal gun broke? Jumba isn't around to fix it because he was retconned into the cartoonish villain. If the portal gun breaks, Nani is stuck in California thousands of miles away from her sister. She'll have to do what normal people do and spend money on a plane ticket. The decision to remove the complexity of its characters is a sin in itself, but by removing Gantu, preventing Jumba from joining the found family, and having Lilo and Nani separate behind they're the final nails in the coffin of this film. It feels almost sinister. I don't want to accuse the writers or directors of this film of anything. The director has even gone out of his way to say he tried with adapting certain aspects of the story that were cut because Disney needed to sanitize this movie. But I feel like this is meant to be showing the audience the reaction to found families. Maybe conservative reaction to it. Also, my analysis here isn't even mentioning how historically indigenous people have been separated by the US government. That is not something I'm fully researched on. I will link a video in the description below about that.
When you think about it, Disney has almost become like the dark honey fungus of the entertainment industry, devouring and destroying everything while being the largest living organism in the world. Except Disney isn't technically living either, or the mushroom. Life is defined really weird. And anyway, metaphors aside, I'll lead with a disclaimer that the following argument might sound a bit like a conspiracy theory, but I think it's important to talk about how a massive media conglomerate like Disney treats the characters of some of their IPs. After all, why are they consistently doing this? I've only talked about 3 examples here, but it's becoming a trend to have these found families break apart in their sequel movies, and I think it's leaning into the conservatism that they've started to lean into in the last few years. There's a lot of discussion online about Disney's suppression of queer and diverse characters and how often they're sidelined, replaced, cancelled, or rewritten. We've got millions of first gay characters. Individual creators have come out about Disney censoring diverse themes in their works, from canceled projects, the censorship of characters in shows like Win or Lose, to even cutting shows short like The Owl House and Andy Mack. The found family isn't always outwardly queer like gay or trans are, but it does invoke the otherness. They're not traditional. They're not the mom, the dad, and the 2.5 children plus a dog or cat. They're oddly shaped. Some of them include a biological relationship. Sometimes they may have a romantic one thrown in, or two, but they don't always have to. They're just different. And I think that's why Disney has been quietly erasing these families. They don't fit into the nuclear family trope that the conservatives like. Therefore, they must be broken up in order to properly align again in a way that subconscious, or maybe consciously, makes the bigwigs more comfortable. Shown to embrace families that have 2 sisters, 2 gay alien uncles, and a weird dog. We can't be shown to embrace a family that is little, 2 outcasts that find comfort and strength in each other. Because while it's fun to explore characters that are friends and family, it's important to tell kids that everything is temporary and that their family bonds are really strong until they're not like in Frozen and the Lilo and Stitch remake. What are we even trying to teach kids about this anyway? Like, I get that wanting to introduce kids to growth, change, and coming of age themes is important to help them grow into fully fledged intelligent adults, but how are we supposed to do that when Disney's families that they love always end up apart or for one reason or another? Like, yes, we love that Elsa is living an epic girl boss bisexual ice witch life in the Magic Woods, but she essentially dumps her responsibilities as Queen of Arendelle on Anna to do so. But hey, if Elsa is living a solitary girl boss life in the woods, there's also no need for Disney to give into the fan pressure of giving Elsa a girlfriend or something, right? She can just exist in the background. The same goes for Vanellope. Her game gets fixed, but she just decides to run off and set her respawn into Slaughter Race where she can have more fun, instead of in Sugar Rush where she's supposed to rule and fought for in the first film. There's no community there, just abandonment of responsibilities. And don't even get me started again on the Lilo and Stitch remake. Somehow we're simultaneously trying to tell kids 3 confusing messages. Sometimes your family doesn't have to be blood related, except, well, yeah, they kind of do, because friends are only temporary and they'll leave you. And sometimes sisters will leave you large responsibilities or abandon you for greater things. But it's okay because we all love each other still and they can still visit, right? The fact that Disney has done this for 3 sequels, or, well, 2 sequels and a remake, makes me feel like it's a trend. Like, once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, and 3 times is a pattern, right? Oh, but Nimbus, this is only 3 movies, right? There's no way this is a pattern, right? I decided to look through some of Disney's other recent films I haven't seen yet to make sure I didn't miss anything. Turns out, Toy Story also has a breakaway of one of their characters, Toy Story 4. So this is definitely becoming a thing within their franchises. Build a lovable and recognizable found family, and eventually you have to break it apart. It looks like in Toy Story 5 and Frozen 3 that the families will come back together, but I don't trust that easily. I feel like, at the end of the day, this shift in storytelling is trying to tell people that weird is just a pit stop. Your friends aren't permanent enough to become a real family to you. Real growth and development happens after you leave them behind. You find yourself by yourself and adjust yourself into your own narrative boxes. And while you might look fondly back on the found family you used to have, maybe you'll learn to accept the mom, the dad, and the 2.5 kids as your real home. Most mushrooms survive as a system, not an individual. Cutting one off will essentially kill it. I think that goes to say something about humans, too. No, not just how cutting something off can kill us, but how individualism can be the real killer. In all of these stories, when the found family gets broken up, it comes down to one character's individual choice. Elsa living in the Enchanted Forest, Vanellope staying in Slaughter Race, Nani leaving Hawaii for college. These 3 characters cut themselves off from the rest of their family, essentially, even if the narratives give them loopholes to still be connected. Elsa can use the wind sphere to deliver messages to Anna. Vanellope and Ralph can call? Nani and Lilo can also call, and also Nani has a portal gun from the evil Jumba that can teleport her from California to Hawaii. The loopholes that Disney walks through in order to act like these characters are still connected to their system, when they're really not, are kind of sadly hilarious in a way. Especially the portal gun, rewriting basically the entire story of Lilo and Stitch to make one of the most beloved characters of the animated film the bad guy. It's just hilarious. While individualism doesn't kill the actual character literally, they're still killing the bonds between the characters. They're killing the family that they found. And isn't that the saddest part of all? It's not a loud death, it's quiet, it's gone pretty unnoticed. And maybe one day we won't even have any found families to love it anymore to begin with. Also, I'm gonna say it, even though it's not a found family, I bet if a sequel for Encanto ever comes out, they'll find a way to tear a few of the family members apart too. It's Disney, I know they'll do it. Well, thank you all for watching this video. I don't want to say this is 100% serious. This is just a fun little analysis of a trend. There's something to say that Disney is doing this subtly to their found families that they build, but I don't think it's anything seriously as like the conservatives are trying to take over media, which, I mean, they kind of are now that I think about it, but still, these analysis videos are meant to be fun. This one's probably a little more serious, but it's still meant to be fun. It's meant to be a fun exploration of just stuff I've noticed. So yeah, if you guys liked it, please leave a like, obviously, comment your thoughts, share this video, and yeah, I will see you all in the next one. As always, take care and keep your head in the clouds. Bye!
There's a humongous fungus
among us.